5 children vanished in a house fire. No bones. No remains. Then 20 years later, a photograph arrived in the mail. And what it showed might be worse than anything the family had ever imagined. Christmas Eve, 1945. Fayetteville, West Virginia. A coal town nestled in the Appalachian Hills where everyone knows everyone, where doors stay unlocked, where nothing truly terrible is supposed to happen. The Sauter family, George, Jenny, and their 10 children, are gathered in their modest 2-story home on a hill just outside town. The tree is up. Presents are wrapped. The younger children have been put to bed upstairs. George and Jenny fall asleep downstairs sometime after midnight, the wood stove cooling, the house settling into silence. And then the phone rings. Jenny answers. A woman's voice on the other end asks for someone Jenny doesn't recognize. The caller laughs and hangs up. Jenny notices the lights are still on. The curtains on the front door are open. She locks up. She goes back to sleep. And roughly an hour later, she wakes to the smell of smoke. What happens next is a sequence of events so strange, so riddled with inconsistencies and impossibilities, that nearly 80 years later, we still don't have answers. And the deeper you look into this case, the more you realize, we were never supposed to. The fire moves fast. George and Jenny escape with 4 of their children, the older ones, who slept on the ground floor. But 5 children remain upstairs. Maurice, age 14. Martha, age 12. Louis, age 9. Jenny Jr., age 8. And Betty, age 5. George tries to reach them. He runs to the staircase, but the flames have already consumed it. He goes outside, looks for the ladder he always keeps leaning against the house. It's gone. Vanished. He tries to start one of his trucks to drive it close to the house, to climb on the roof. Neither truck will start. Both had been working fine hours earlier. He tries to use a water barrel to fight the flames. It's frozen solid. He burns his hands and arms trying to reach the second floor from the outside. He can't. The fire department doesn't arrive until 8 in the morning. 8 in the morning. The Sauter home sits barely 2 miles from the fire station. By the time anyone with a hose reaches the property, the house has been reduced to a smoldering basement full of ash. The fire chief, a man named F.J. Morris, looks at the wreckage, makes a brief inspection, and declares the 5 children dead. Death by fire. There's just one problem. No remains are found. Not a single bone. Not a tooth. Not a fragment of skull. Nothing. The fire chief says the blaze must have been hot enough to completely cremate the bodies. But here's what that claim requires you to believe. A residential house fire, fueled by wood and whatever furnishings were inside, burning for at most a few hours, would need to reach and sustain temperatures of approximately 1600 degrees Fahrenheit to fully crite human bone. Crematoriums, purpose-built industrial furnaces, operate at those temperatures for 2 to 3 hours and still leave behind bone fragments. Every single time. A house fire does not reach those temperatures. It cannot. And it certainly cannot do so for 5 bodies simultaneously, leaving behind absolutely nothing. Not a bone. Not a button. Not a bedspring from the mattresses the children slept on. Nothing. And that's when George and Jenny Sauter stopped believing the official story. And they never believed it again for as long as they lived. Here are 5 things about that night that nobody has ever been able to explain. 1. The ladder. George kept a ladder against the side of the house at all times. That night, it was gone. It was later found, months after the fire, thrown into an embankment 75 feet from the home. Ladders don't walk away on their own. 2. The trucks. Both of George's coal trucks had been in perfect working condition. That night, neither would start. After the fire, a mechanic examined them and found that critical engine components had been disconnected. Not broken. Disconnected. By hand. 3. The phone line. The telephone line to the solder house had been cut. Not burned. Cut. The severed section was found away from the house, in an area untouched by fire, cleanly sliced. 4. The fire department response. Fayetteville's fire chief took nearly 7 hours to respond to a fully engulfed house fire 2 miles from his station. To this day, no adequate explanation has ever been offered. 5. The insurance investigator. A man named Oscar Hall was hired to examine the scene. He spent very little time on site. He took no photographs. He collected almost no evidence. He ruled the cause of the fire as faulty wiring. George Sauter had his home's wiring inspected not long before the fire. It had passed inspection. Hall's conclusion went unchallenged by authorities. George and Jenny became convinced that their children had not died in that fire. They believed someone had set the blaze deliberately and taken their children in the chaos. And as the months and years went on, they found more and more reasons to believe exactly that. Witnesses began coming forward. A woman who ran a tourist stop along the highway reported seeing the 5 Sauter children in a car with Florida plates around the time of the fire. She said they were accompanied by 2 men and 2 women, all of Italian appearance. She described the children in detail she had no reason to fabricate and no way to have known unless she had actually seen them. A woman in a Charleston hotel reported seeing the children with adults who spoke Italian and who angrily told her to mind her own business when she tried to talk to the kids. Another witness, a man passing through town on Christmas morning, said he saw several people throwing what he believed to be balls of fire onto the roof of the Sauter home. His testimony was dismissed. George Sauter was an Italian immigrant. He was outspoken. Before the war, he had publicly criticized Mussolini at community gatherings. This drew attention. One night, months before the fire, a man came to the door and threatened George, telling him his house would go up in smoke and his children would be destroyed. That man was later identified as a member of the local community with ties to pro-fascist Italian organizations. Another man, a life insurance salesman whom George had turned away, reportedly told neighbors that the Sauter house would burn down and the children would die. He said this before the fire. That same man later served on the coroner's jury that ruled the children dead. Read that again. A man who allegedly predicted the fire and the deaths of the children sat on the jury that declared them dead. George and Jenny never accepted the ruling. They erected a billboard along Route 16 in Fayetteville, a massive sign with photographs of the 5 missing children, a plea for information, and a $20,000 reward. That billboard stood for decades. George and Jenny maintained it themselves. Every year. Every season. They never stopped looking. And then, in 1967, 22 years after the fire, an envelope arrived at the Sauter home. It bore a Kentucky postmark. There was no return address. Inside was a single photograph. It showed a young man in his mid-20s. On the back, someone had written the words, Louis Sauter. I love brother Frankie. Illo boys. A 90132 or 35. The handwriting was unfamiliar. The photograph showed a man who bore a striking resemblance to Louis Sauter, the 9-year-old boy who vanished in the fire. The image appeared to be a candid photograph, not a studio portrait. The man in the picture looked directly at the camera. His expression was unreadable. Jenny Sauter reportedly stared at that photograph and said, with absolute certainty, that it was her son. The family hired a private investigator to follow the lead. He traveled to Kentucky. And then he stopped communicating. He never reported back. He simply vanished from the case. His findings, if there were any, were never shared with the Sauter family. George and Jenny hired more investigators over the years. None of them produced conclusive results. Some disappeared from contact entirely. George Sauter died in 1969, still searching. Jenny Sauter died in 1989. She never took down the billboard. It remained standing until 1990, when it was finally removed after her death. For nearly half a century, those 5 faces stared out at every driver who passed through Fayetteville, frozen in time, forever children, forever missing. The case went cold. The official record never changed. 5 children dead in a house fire. No remains recovered. Case closed. But cases like this don't stay closed. Not really. In 2024, a genealogist working with genetic databases made a claim that sent a shock through the true crime community. Using DNA analysis and genealogical matching techniques similar to those that helped identify the Golden State Killer, the researchers said they had identified a living descendant who matched one of the missing Sodder children. The implication was staggering. At least one of the 5 children survived the fire, lived a full adult life under a different identity, and had descendants walking the earth today. The genealogist's full findings have not been publicly released as of this writing. The Sodder family's surviving members have been cautious, guarded. Verification is ongoing. But if the match holds, if the science confirms what George and Jenny Sodder believed until the day they died, then this isn't a house fire case at all. It's a kidnapping. It's a cover-up. And it was aided by the very people who were supposed to investigate it. Think about what that means. 5 children were taken from a burning house, or removed before the fire was even set. The fire was staged to destroy evidence. The ladder was moved. The trucks were sabotaged. The phone line was cut. The fire department was delayed. The investigation was cursory at best, corrupt at worst. And a man who predicted the crime sat in judgment over its victims. Someone planned this. Multiple people executed it. And an entire community, or at least its institutions, either looked the other way or actively participated in the cover-up. For 80 years, those children have existed in a kind of limbo, not confirmed dead, not confirmed alive. Schrödinger's victims. The fire that was supposed to erase them failed to produce the one thing that would have ended the mystery, their remains. And every year that passed without bones in the ashes was another year that proved George and Jenny right. There's a photograph on the wall. A young man stares into the camera. On the back, a message in handwriting no one recognizes. A name. A number. A fragment of a life lived in hiding, or in captivity, or in a new identity that was never chosen. Somewhere, someone knows the truth about what happened on that hill in Fayetteville on Christmas Eve, 1945. Someone alive today may carry the DNA of a child who was declared dead in a fire that left no bones. The billboard is gone now. The house is gone. George and Jenny are gone. But the question remains, hanging in the air like smoke that never fully clears. 5 children went to sleep on Christmas Eve and were never seen again. No bones. No remains. No closure. Just a photograph, a number scrawled on the back, and a family that never stopped looking. If the 2024 DNA findings are confirmed, then we have to reckon with something deeply uncomfortable, that the truth was available all along, that the parents were right from the very beginning, and that every institution that should have helped them instead chose silence. What do you think really happened to the Sodder children? Were they taken? By whom? And why has it taken 80 years for science to catch up with what a mother already knew? Leave your theory below.